Welcome back. Last week we told you about our new director of the Office of Emergency Management, and today he's joining us on the show. Kevin Aftung, thank you for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really excited to be here in Anne Arundel County.
It's a pleasure, and be careful how excited you are because that first snowfall is going to come, right? And
we're prepared.
We're prepared.
That's what I like to hear.
Tell us a little bit about your background before you came to Anne Arundel County, what sort of experience you have.
Well, I actually have kind of a long background. I spent 30 years in Howard County Fire and Rescue and retired as a battalion chief. Took a couple of years off and did the golf and fishing thing and decided I was too young to just hang up the EM shoes at that point. I went to work for Queen Anne's County. I worked there 3 years as their emergency planner in emergency management, and then was promoted to chief of the department and spent 4 years there as chief of the department.
So then, we should call you chief. Can we call you chief? Is that okay?
I'm fine with that. Sure, why not?
Once a chief, always a chief,
That's
right?
Well, that's what they say in the fire and rescue service.
That's right.
I think that's true.
That's awesome. Well, Kevin, what would you say was the largest weather-related event that you've ever been a part of?
Well, actually, that's a very memorable experience for me. During Hurricane Sandy, I was a director in Queen Anne's County. We prepared for that storm for about 10 days in advance of it. That meant several weather checks every day, meetings with all of the different stakeholders every day. As the storm got closer, we prepared. We have a 5-day matrix that we plan, and by the time the storm was very close, we were very well prepared. Our EOC was stood up and we were in operation. The amazing thing about that storm, had it hit 60 or 80 miles south of where it did, a lot of the shoreline of Maryland would have looked like New Jersey and New York City. So we were very fortunate that it came ashore where it did.
Yeah.
And so walk us through, for people who don't understand what we do here, and by the way, we tape Week in Review in the same building as the Emergency Operations Center. Let's say we have a blizzard next week. Blizzard next week?
Blizzard next week.
Let's say we have a blizzard next week.
No.
What role do you play? What exactly does the Director of Emergency Management do in a situation like that?
Well, I think the biggest thing that everybody needs to understand about emergency management is we're here in a support role. We're here to support the frontline troops who are out on the street. The police, the fire, the salt truck drivers, the transportation group, everybody who's out there, we're here to support them. And most of the time when there's not an actual emergency going on, we're doing our planning. We're planning for that. We're meeting with stakeholders. We're trying to build bridges and build good relationships with other departments and other groups so that when the storm does hit, we can provide that really good support service and be there for you. My role will be in the Emergency Operations Center as direct liaison to the county executive for his decision-making capabilities during that point. That works in conjunction with the fire chief and the police chief and all of the other stakeholders who would be in the Emergency Operations Center. So it's a big support role, and the idea is better communications and better management of the actual emergency.
And I think something that's really key that some folks may not know is having been through Snowmageddon here in Anne Arundel County and the same hurricanes that you were a part of, obviously. The activation of the Emergency Operations Center allows us to have every single department, every single BGE, everyone here in one room. So that way you can communicate. You don't have any obstacles or barriers that come with a big storm or some sort of weather event where you might not be able to travel.
Well, absolutely. And again, the goal is to get all the decision makers and all the stakeholders in one room so that when we make a decision, it's a collaborative decision made that's in the best interest of the county, particularly in the area of safety.
Wow. So it sounds like preparation is the key.
Preparation is everything.
Gotta be
Planning
ready.
and preparation
Yeah.
are everything in
Yeah.
emergency management. They are.
So then, how many times a day would that require you to check the weather?
As a weather geek, I check the weather quite often. It doesn't
I
matter
knew it.
whether it's warm or cold. I'm on the weather constantly. We have the emergency alert system that we're hooked up to. We have Maryland Emergency Management Agency. We have several sources. We also have the National Weather Service at Sterling. So we have a lot of connections that we use, and it provides a lot of data for us to make decisions on what's best for weather-related emergencies. But yeah, I'm a true blue weather geek from number one, and it's just that's the thing I like to do the most.
All right.
I'm really fond of the cumulonimbus clouds myself.
Cumulonimbus clouds are very interesting clouds. They can be,
Aren't they?
particularly if they decide to develop a wall or rotate.
Absolutely. See,
Cumular
folks, we got all the
nimbus.
weather. We'll break down all the weather for you right here on Weekend Review. Well, thank you very much,
Thank you, Kevin.
Aftung, for joining us on the show, and we'll look forward to seeing you when things really get interesting. With Lord knows what could possibly happen in the next 3 months. But we appreciate you coming on the show.
We'll
and
be ready, right?
We look forward to working with you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. The last thing I would like to tell all the citizens of Anne Arundel County is that our office is open. If there's something you'd like to know about, if you want to email us or contact us, we'd love to talk to you.
And you can do that by calling 410-222-0600. And we're going to take a really quick break, and we'll be right back.